Hello everyone, Sejr here. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Trinity Stamps YouTube channel. I am going to be working with this stamp set here. It is called Hoot Hoot Hooray. It is a birthday themed owl stamp set and has a bunch of fun little sentiments. Just take this out. You can see that we have three little owls here. One on a branch, one's flapping its wings to stand there or perched, and then one also perched without its wings out. And then it actually has these little party hats, graduation hats, different types of hats that you can place on with some masking and easy to layer. We have a little banner, some cupcakes, presents. Oh, there's even a wizard hat. Look, that's adorable. Perfect for the Halloween season coming, I think. Anyways, this is what I'm going to be using. It's going to be a fairly simple card, but it's a technique that I've been trying to play with for a while. So let's see how it turns out. So without further ado, let's start making this card. I have a fun project today. I'm so excited. I have this black cardstock. It's a very heavy cardstock that's meant to hold water products. So I'm going to be using some acrylic markers. And so you need something that's pretty heavy and that won't cause pilling if you keep doing too much. This is a very smooth. I pretty much went to the local craft store and I asked for black Bristol, and this is what they suggested. And it is a very smooth, wonderful product. I'm going to be creating a birthday card, and it's going to be kind of like a scratch style. Like if this card was painted and you can scratch it off to reveal an image, that's the style. And I'm going to be making it a birthday card with this owl on a branch and a balloon and then the sentiment, hoot hoot hooray. I don't need to worry that the branch is not on the edge because we're going to be not filling it all in. We're only going to be coloring a portion of it. So what you're going to need is a stamp platform where you can set it up and leave it so that you can do the many layers that we're going to be working with. I'm going to be starting off with a white layer. I first did this with a no line or embossing just so that you can see it without it being like white. But for this video, definitely white is better because you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing and it's much easier to work with. I'm going to start off with a Posca pen in silver. This is going to be really pretty. And I'm going to scratch it over the whole image, but not covering everything. And I'm going to make it as scratchy as I possibly can. And then I'll do the sentiment as well. And I'm going to let that sit and dry. The reason I have the magnets, it didn't do anything. When I was first playing with it, it curled, and I was hoping this wouldn't curl as much, but it still kind of did because you are adding quite a bit of liquid. So I was just testing it out. I don't know, maybe it worked a tiny bit. Now that that is fully dried, and I mean fully dried, I'm going to bring in just a black ink. Any black ink will do. You do not need a good coverage, and you're just going to cover over top of that. I had to do it twice because I didn't do enough on the silver there because we need to have an outline of where we're going to color. And now we can put that aside and we'll start coloring, bringing out some more acrylic paint markers. I love these. I've been trying to learn how to use them because they just have this solid liquid color and they're very bright and I just love it. So I'm going to go over everything with these, but I'm not, don't worry about being perfect because it looks nice. It actually looks pretty cool when it's not perfect. And you'll see it when it's all done, what I'm talking about. But you want to get, you want to try your best to get most of it so that it looks like it's not missing anything. But so we'll do the eyes and then we have the beaks and the feet. And then we're going to bring out the orange for the tree because I don't own any brown markers. So you got to get creative. And I'm going to try my best, even though I didn't do it with the eye, I'm not going to color wherever the black is showing. And so I'll do my best. If you go over it, that's fine, whatever. and we'll just fill this in as best as you can. If you find that it's a little bit too see-through, let it dry completely and go over it again. But don't do too many layers at once when it's wet, because it will start tearing the paper and you'll start get pilling. And then the other problem is you can actually start pulling the wet paint off. It's kind of like if you're painting a wall and you have too much paint on it and you let it sit for a little bit and then you start going over it again, it actually kind of pulls it off instead of putting it, I don't know. That's my experience. I'm a terrible painter on the wall, but I digress. That is not the point of this video. So there we go. And I added some of this little, it's a teal turquoise type color. And I'm going to color my owl the same as the leaves. And we're going to fill it in as best as we can. But like I said, don't worry about it. It has this charm when it's not fully covered. It's almost like when you have those images that are colored, but they're kind of off a bit. And it just looks, even though it's not perfect, it looks really nice. So fill it in as best you can. That's why we used just the slightest of black ink, just so you can see and fill that in. Once again, trying to not cover that black line, which I just did again. And here we go. I'm just kind of putting a second layer on there just to make it so it's a little bit smoother. And now that some of these have dried, if I was using anything less strength in this paper, I would have waited a lot longer to start doing a second coat. I'm not kidding when I say it will start wearing down your paper. So you can kind of see why I didn't want to use white in the first place, because you can see the lines, but it's actually not that bad. It actually is kind of neat to see. It's almost like that's where you were meant to scratch. It was kind of telling you. So there we go. I did try the magnets again once I said it doesn't work what I was expecting, but that's okay. We will move on to the next stage. So like I said, we needed to make sure that our stamp position was in the right position. We're never going to move it. And now we're going to be adding some more ink. I've been playing around with some inks and I decided to use the Stays On ink. This ink is a solvent ink. It's meant for like ceramics and glass, and it will stay on. The reason I'm using this one is because I find that sometimes if I use anything more, like VersaFine ink and others that I've played with, it doesn't dry. It just comes off of these acrylic markers, and I want something that dries faster. The problem with this, and it could be just because I'm doing a video and I'm not waiting, because I don't think it did to me last time, is that because it's so sticky, it actually can start pulling off the ink or like the acrylic paint, as you can see in the eye of the owl. I'm not worried about it. As long as everything else is fine, I can bring in some markers, which I will do later to show you. But look how cute that is. That is fantastic. I love how this turned out. By adding that layer on top of your markers, it really ties everything together. Now you can see it's starting to curl because I'm using quite a bit of paint. So I'm going to bring a heat gun and I'm going to blast it with some heat very quickly. This is not too long, just enough to uncurl it a bit and stop. I don't want to shrink it. I don't want to do too much damage. So we'll just do it very quick, and it did a nice job of that. Now this card that I'm creating is for my Craft Roulette submission, and I'm going to be doing a 6x4, or it's a 4x6 card. I don't know if that's a mini slimline, but this is what we're going with. And my panel that I cut out is actually going to be 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. So I'll have a nice border. And what I'm going to do is to kind of battle against that curve. I'm just going to bring in some foam tape. This will allow me to lift it up, as well as it has that flexibility to kind of pull that paper in so that it's not so curvaged. I don't think that's the right way of saying that, but I hope you know what I mean. I just want to make sure it's not bended on the card. I don't want my card base to be pulled as well. I'm going to pull up my trusty little ruler. This is actually kind of fun ruler. It tells me exactly where my 1/8 of an inch is going to be, which is what I want. And I just plop that down and look at that. Presto, bango. This is fantastic. Now I'm going to fix the eyes. So I'm going to bring out one of those micron pens and I'm going to just go right around and fill it in. This is an easy way to fix any imperfections in black ink when you have things. So I would always recommend having those on hand. To finish this card off, let's bring in some sparkle spots. These are the silver, and I'm going to be using the jewel picker from Trinity Stamps to add them. And I'm just going to do a little cluster on the left top and then a little bit on the bottom right. This is a very simple card. It took a few steps to play with, but I really love how these turn out, and I want to make more of this style. I just love the simplicity. I love how it's not so perfect. You can kind of see the silver that's coming through, and some of the coloring has come off on the outside of the lines. It's just a beautiful style, and I just love it so much, and I'm glad that I got to share it with you. You can totally do this on white cardstock as well. You just wouldn't use a black ink. You would do more like a no line where you can't really see it. So there you go. I do hope you enjoyed this as much as I had making it. And until the next time, have a fantastic week, and I'll talk to you all later. Take care. Bye.